This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Very lucky this morning. What a start to the day. We didn't have to venture too far until we found, as you can see, this lioness. She should be with her 4 cubs, but we are yet to see them. As you can hear all the birds in the background. The day's just starting now. All the birds starting with their dawn chorus. Quite a cool day. One of the cooler days we've had over the last couple of days. Oh, looks like something's just caught this lioness's attention. Welcome aboard, everyone, to your live bush safari. Welcome back, everyone, and a very warm welcome to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, lucky enough to find this lioness, yet to find the cubs, but I'm sure they'll pop out any minute. My name is Dean, and behind the camera we've got Owen. A little bit of a cool start to the morning. Probably one of the cooler mornings we've had the last couple of days. So for now, just the lioness, just the mom, and she should have her 4 cubs. They might actually be stashed to the right. We've only just got here, so I'm not too sure where the cubs are exactly. I'm going to try and have a look. But you'll notice her head's right up here, is focused in our direction. They were. And before we got here, we were actually searching in an area to our left for her. And there were a couple of impala. And the wind is blowing from them onto the lioness, so it could be the scent that she's smelling. You'll see she lifts her head and she has a good whiff. We're going to try and see if we can get a better position. Maybe those cubs pop out, or if we can find them in that long grass. But for now, let's have a look what the weather's doing in other areas.
Well, it's certainly a chilly day today. It's the coldest it's been this year, that's for sure. But at least it looks like we're going to get some sun, which will make life a lot better, and the wind is not nearly as bad as it was last night. Anyway, my name is Tristan. On camera I've got Gert this morning, and we are, well, on the western side of Djuma, trying to follow up on a leopardess. I don't know which leopard it is at the moment, but there's tracks for a leopard coming up towards where we are right now from Philemon's dip side. There's also tracks for a male leopard in the area. So I know Mulawati was seen yesterday on Arathusa coming north, so I suspect that that's him. And then the female, well, maybe it's the tracks that we were following yesterday. I'm not sure, but we're going to just scratch around on this sort of western side on Zoe's in the hope that we pick up the track. Somebody else has the track further to our east coming our way. So we're just trying to cut down the distance. The problem is that it's not very far from our western boundary. If she has crossed through the section, the likelihood is that she's already out of Djuma, which would be sad, but it's the way it goes sometimes. So we'll just double check it and see if there's kind of anything crossing up in head here. So where we're looking is pretty much from where I am now, sort of southwards. Anywhere here could be a place where she might cross over the road. If it's Shadulu, she likes to kind of come through this block. She often hunts inside here and then she comes straight across. And funny enough, she doesn't actually walk on the road much here. She just often like pops over the road and then back into this block on our right. And there's lots of duiker and steenbok and random things inside here that she goes after. So it's a very weird kind of route through here. Most of the time, cats we were talking about yesterday, they like to follow roads. But in this case, she often just pops straight across this road, and then she likes to be in these blocks and messing around and looking for various food items that can be in this area. But there's no tracks so far that I've seen coming over this road. The nice thing about this road is it's really soft and beautiful and powdery, so any leopard track will be clearly visible on this road. So I'm hoping that this junction will pick something up. No, nothing that I can see here. All right, I'm going to have it. Oh, there it goes. So the track is going straight across. So we'll just try and follow it. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Dyke to say good morning.
Good morning to all our viewers at home. My name is Dyke Koza and Craig on the camera behind me. And then we're going to be driving down this road to try see if we can find some lions for you, and then head down into the riverbed. See if that lioness with the 3 cubs is not lying somewhere there. We hope that 2 roast males have joined them this morning. That will be really nice to see the whole pride together. 1 female, 2 males and the 3 cubs. They'll even be more active this time of the morning and happy to see the mom back after gone and tried to find something last night. Unless she's got a kill somewhere, she may have gone back into that riverbed and take the cubs to where the kill is. And then if so, I'm sure we'll find the tracks of the female and the cubs in this area, or where the cubs were, and then follow up on that and see where they lead us to. Let's hope to find them in a riverbed, or find the tracks and follow them and see where these animals are up to. So we are about maybe 7-8 minutes to get down into the riverbed and see if we can find any signs of those animals. If she did come back and didn't get successful last night, she'll be somewhere in the riverbed lying there, and hoping that this will happen soon. And it's opening up in front of us. That's where they'll start to hunt, maybe in the night. And yes, Susan, that's what I'm hoping for as well, because those cubs will need to feed, because they slowly getting wind off. So they're going to need more than milk to feed them to survive. Yeah, so we're just going to carry on down and see if she's back in the area or she just came back and fetched them and take them somewhere. Because this is a very good area for wildebeest. Up ahead in front of us, there's nice open clearings where you can find a herd of wildebeest, and it's not far from where she sometimes leave her cubs in that riverbed. It would be nice if she caught something not too far from where the cubs are, and we'll be viewing them not too far from the area where she would like to leave them. And those males may have gone patrolling the territory. They might be back in the area. You never know. And also they haven't been together with the Birmingham Pride, because this lioness I'm talking about, she's part of the Birmingham Pride. They haven't been together for quite some time with the one group or part of the Pride with the two white ones. So I'm hoping that she's caught something, and then the others have picked it up, and they may have come and joined. It will be so beautiful to see them early this morning feeding at the carcass. It's such a nice thing to see lions feeding at the carcass all together, including the cubs. So who knows? Those lions need a lot to eat. I wish they'd taken maybe something bigger than a wildebeest to feed them all. Either a giraffe or a buffalo. I know sometimes. Yeah, we're just going to carry on down this road and see if we can have any luck on those lions. And then I'll go over to Tushela at Juma and see what she's found for us. Enjoy.
I'm so happy to have you, as always. It's me, Tshala. I've got Morgan on camera with me, and we are approaching the hyena den. So they've moved back to using the den that we've used, or that they've used, not myself, for the majority of the time that the cubs have been around. It's the den that they used in the past, too. I'll just show it to you quickly. There's nobody around, unfortunately. But as the cubs get older, they start to move a lot. Not just between dens, but into drainages, into dens that we don't necessarily find, and they just use it for a short period. Let's have a look just from here. You remember this den? Affectionately known as den number 3 in this block. It's got this entrance, which is the southwestern entrance, and there's another entrance at the north there. So I wish it was active, but we'll just have to keep checking because I haven't seen these guys since I've been back. Well, it's only been day 2. But I was hoping for something. Anyway, let's move on and see what else we can find. This is my favorite time of the day. Favorite part of the drive is this first hour of the morning drive, if I had to be very specific. Nope, nothing. So I like to make the most of this time. And for me, if I had to sit at the den for most of that time, that's also fine. But it's a good time to work the area. There was some leopard tracks that Tristan's following up on. We picked them up on quarantine and Philemon's dip coming down here, and then they moved west, and that's where Tristan picked them up. So he's going to follow up on that side. Oh, well, you've already been with him. So I'm thinking, let us go towards the east. So we'll go south, and then we'll go towards the east and see what we can pick up on that side. Be nice to visit Buffelshoek Dam, too. I have checked the other dens. They're all inactive at the moment. So let's go on a little adventure. That's half the fun, isn't it? Hi, Kim. You're 7 years old. Thank you so much for joining us. You'd like to know if the hyenas have a set time in which they come out. They don't. So you know, Kim, that you and I, we go to sleep at a certain time and we wake up at a certain time and we have meals at a certain time and we have a certain amount of meals. Animals out here, they don't do that because there's no reason for them to do that. So the hyenas, they come out when they want to, but sometimes whether they want to depends on the weather. Sometimes it's too cold. Sometimes it's too hot. Sometimes the mum's not there, so they won't come out. Sometimes they just feel like coming out. But there's no set time when they can. It just depends on how they feel. Maybe they feel thirsty, maybe they feel hot, maybe they feel cold, maybe they feel hungry. So we're now going to swing past Treehouse Dam. Have a quick look. See, nothing's going on here. There we go. Nothing going on here, so we're going to keep on moving to the south.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a Wild Earth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa, day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
I got into wildlife filmmaking because of a passion for nature and a notion that I could make a difference. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun. A couple of times per week, we receive some very heartfelt messages from viewers telling us about how Wild Earth has made a difference in their life, whether it's helped them through a difficult period or simply helped them to reconnect with nature. I think that's why we do what we do.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephants, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Welcome back, everyone, to And Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. So the lioness and her 4 cubs have just moved off to our right. The cubs made a brief appearance, and they've now just gone into the thicket. You might just get a glimpse of one going through the grass there. I did notice how they were starting to yawn and rub up against each other, often a sign that they're going to get going, which is exactly what just happened. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. There are some impalas right behind us. They are heading in that direction, it seems like. You can just hear some of the birds giving a bit of an alarm call. Some of the dark-capped bulbuls going crazy in the distance. We will see if we can find them again. They've moved off right into that thick area there. There are a couple of watering holes also, not too far. They might be going for a morning drink. I think we're going to try and find these lions again. In the meantime, we're going to send you over to JP.
Good morning and welcome to Wild Earth. We're currently standing in a small little pan directly east of Leopard Dam on the Pridelands Conservancy. As normal, we like to start our little walks quite close by to pans, drainage lines and places where animals would come and drink during the night. And from there on, formulate a plan on what we can follow and what is worthwhile following for the rest of the day, because this is quite often where we locate on fresh tracks. So my name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we have got Glenn. So our plan for the morning is that we're going to start from here and look at the number of tracks which we found. And then from there, we'll continue towards Leopard Dam, and I hope to see some animals for the morning to come in and, when they come and drink. It's absolutely a beautiful sunrise this morning. It's nice and cool, and we've got these beautiful cirrus clouds in the sky as well. The combination of that and the early morning sun created such a beautiful pink hue on those clouds, which made it an absolutely stunning sunrise. Those little clouds that you see in the distance, they're called cirrus. Some people call them mare's tails. They're quite high clouds, and they consist out of ice crystals, which is basically in suspension. They're somewhere between 6,000 and 12,000 meters in altitude. They generally are indicators that we either have fine weather in our way, or at least for some form of stable weather that's coming into our direction. We're going to start off seeing what we can locate at this dam, and in the meanwhile we're going to hand you over to Shala, who is in Juma.
I've got a similar plan to JP. I told you we were going to move south from Treehouse, and we certainly have. We've come out to the southern boundary. Just having a quick look for tracks here. Nothing too exciting. And we're almost at Twin Dams. So let's see what we find there. I'm hoping that we'll pick up on some leopard tracks. That would be awesome. I always feel that almost incomplete if I haven't seen a leopard while I'm here. Obviously, we're all spoiled because it's only been 2 days and we feel like we haven't seen a leopard. Something's wrong. But we are very, very spoiled. Sometimes like to roll down here just because it gives us an opportunity to listen a bit better. The sound of the vehicle can drown out so many other important clues. Not that Wendy here is particularly silent. Shame. But it's better than the engine. Right. Oh, it's so lovely and fresh. It smells beautiful. Faint hint of wet vegetation or wet soil. Let's take a moment to listen. It smells beautiful. Hi David, you'd like to know if the predator activity will increase or decrease with this weather? It won't really make a difference. The things that would make a difference, so when you talk about this weather, it's really great weather. Like JP was saying to you, cirrus clouds, going to be some nice weather coming along. We're also in autumn heading towards winter, so the temperature's not going to be too high. So at the moment this morning for us in Juma it was 15 and 59. For me that's pretty chilly. But that's great predator weather. So at this time the predator activity is not going to be terribly less or more than it was at any other time. The only difference would be that the bush is thinning. So that would indicate that it would be easier to see them. But other than that, the cooler temperatures will mean they would move around more, but we're still getting up into the 20s during the day. The cooler temperatures are just in the mornings and the afternoons, or in the evenings. We have our lovely hippos here, the twin dams. Another thing worth mentioning about your question, David, is there's really just a few things that affect predator behavior, because predators need to eat, and they need to eat all year round. They don't really change their diet. They can't change from grasses to leaves, or they're not mixed feeders. They always need to take other lives. I just heard something strange behind us. Oh, it's elephants. We'll go around and have a look just in a moment, because it's a bad patch that I'll have to get through. So in a moment. Sorry, David. Yeah, they always have to eat. So the things that would actually affect their behavior are the things like temperature and it being overcast. Mostly if it's too hot. So at this time we're getting great weather, and it means that they'll be able to move a little bit better, but that's about it. Hey, there's 3 of them in here now. Yesterday when we came past there were 2. You'll find that most of the animals here are not terribly affected by the changing seasons in terms of temperature. What affects animals most is a change in the amount of water around. And that applies mostly to herbivores, because those impalas that you're hearing, if you can hear them, it affects mostly the herbivores, because predators get their moisture requirements primarily from the blood of the animals that they eat. They still do drink, but they can survive in times of drought, whereas antelope, they need good vegetation in order, or herbivores rather need good vegetation in order to survive. And when that good vegetation is dying because of the lack of water, then there's this knock-on effect. So you'll usually see that the herbivores or the prey species are the ones that get affected most once the seasons start to change, and if it changes drastically. I don't think we'll have that kind of change this year. For these hippos, a lot of the grass is starting to become dry and dry and brown. Gabby, hi. You'd like to know what constitutes a pod of hippos? This would be a pod. A general rule for groupings would be a hippo, a couple, and then it's collective now. So this would be a pod. There's 3 of them. Just like, you know, one human, a couple, and then them, a group. So this would be a pod. Given it is a very small pod, but it is technically a pod. Or a bloat. That's my favorite collective noun for a hippo. The water here is at a really good height. Or depth is a better word. It's a really good depth because I can see that they've been really playful yesterday and today, and they're able to lift their bodies up and down quite easily. So that's nice to see it, and it can be quite entertaining to watch. If we see the little ones moved a little bit, swum a little bit that way. These ones are porpoising a little bit. Really nice. Shreya, hi. You'd like to know if they come out onto land every night? Yes, they do. Because they don't feed, or they can feed in the water on water plants. It's not as they like feed on sedges and things like that, but it doesn't offer the nutrients that they really need. So they'll come out every night and they will feed on grass around the area. It's usually, they won't stay out for too long, few hours. They're not going to stay out for the whole night, about 4 hours or so. That's probably around the most. They'll feed and then they'll come back into the water. It's a very important cycle because not many animals do that. So what it does is that it introduces nutrients from outside of the aquatic system into it. So they go out, they feed on grasses, and they move around in different areas. Sometimes they can move very far in areas like St. Lucia, when water has been, St. Lucia is on the east coast of South Africa in KwaZulu-Natal, where hippos have moved huge distances, hundreds of kilometers, in search of water. And what that means is as they eat, or as they move along, they're eating. So they're introducing chemical and nutritional components from their trek or their journey, and they're introducing that back into the water because the water is the area of safety, and it's in the water that they defecate the majority of the time. So it's a very important cycle in the sense of introducing nutrients to the water that wouldn't ordinarily be there. And that can increase or decrease biodiversity. It's just quite a fine-tuned thing. If there's too much defecation and introduction of nutrients from outside the aquatic system into the system, then what could happen is there's too little oxygen in the actual water, and that could mean that fish and things like that would die. But if they don't introduce, the hippos don't defecate in the water, then there might be some invertebrates or little crustaceans, mollusks, things like that, that actually won't be able to exist in this water because it's not the exact pH or whatever. So it's this fine kind of tuned chemical pot almost to make sure that the biodiversity is at its best. So they do very much for the area. So let me go and check out those elephants that we heard behind us. I'm going to send you over to JP in Pridelands.
Good morning and welcome back to Pridelands. We're still at our little pan and looking at the water at the moment and see how it's changing greener and becoming greener and greener with algal bloom that's starting to form. However, there's still a number of animals that are coming to drink over here. And we noticed that there was quite a lot of hyena activity here last night. And here we can see where one of the hyenas was drinking. So for those of you that haven't seen a hyena track before, we normally notice them having two little lobes here at the back, and that they've got quite a skewed angle at the back of the foot. One of the other characteristics is that they've got typical kidney-shaped toes, but fit neatly into one another. And unlike cats, with the exception of cheetah, they do mark with the nails at the tip of their foot. We've also noticed that there's a number of warthogs that came to drink here as well at some point. And a few weeks ago, I saw something really interesting. It's where a hyena was lying in a small little pan like this with a warthog on an incredibly hot day. So even on warm days, you can come to some form of agreement when it comes to sharing a pool to cool yourself down. We've also found a little track of a leopard that came down to come and drink here. I'm just going to show this little one for you as well. There we go. There's our leopard. And over here we've got another predator track. And this is a nice little pad that we can see over here. And then we can see 1, 2, 3 lobes at the back, unlike the 2 lobes with a hyena. And here we can find our toes at the front and no nails marking in the track. We're not quite sure yet, but it seems like a young male that potentially have moved through here to come and have a drink. And then right over here, we've also got the tracks of the bird. And here we can see a left foot and a right foot. Over here is the 3 toes pointing forward and the one pointing to the back. And a tiny little nail marking at the back of the hind foot. This track belongs to a group of birds that we call Passerines, or perching birds. They're also referred to as songbirds, as most of the Passerines have got such beautiful songs. And this foot structure has got a special tendons that will allow the foot to lock underneath the weight of the bird. So when they are perching, that they don't fall off the top of a branch. There's quite a few other birds that have actually lost their hind feet. Many of the birds, such as plovers, as well as bustards, and they cannot perch up in a tree. And then we also find ground birds, such as guinea fowls and francolins, which still has a hind toe. However, they can't perch, but their hind toe allows them for balance when they are up in a tree, so that they don't fall off. We've also noticed that there was a number of buffalo that came to come and drink here as well. And here's our track of our buffalo. A very rounded appearing track. We can see a clear split in the middle. And then if we have to look at it, it's roughly some 16 to 18 centimeters long. And it will fit neatly into a square box, unlike a giraffe track, which is more rectangular in length. We've also noticed that the buffalo come here in the afternoons now and come and wallow to cool themselves down. From here, we're going to continue our walk, and I'm going to go and see what I can find along the drainage line. As we continue our walk, we're going to hand you over to Ngala.
Wow, guys, look what we found for you. Along the search for the lions, we just came across this female cheetah with 3 sub-adults. I'm sure to some of you who have been following us for the last few days have seen these animals before. This is not for the first time for you guys to see them. If you look at one of the 2 next to that bush, the one that's moving away now, looks like it's got full belly. They both have eaten, possibly. The way they look, I'm sure they had something to eat, which it might be early this morning or last night. As you can see, they're now moving into this open clearing. So they might as well lie on the shade the whole day because they've got full bellies and there's a bit of water just in front of that green bush. There's one that's sitting up further to the right. That will be the mother. As you can see, she's sitting up. The one further to the right, sitting up and looking around, checking if there's no other predators in the area, because these animals are in bottom line of a food chain from the predators. Do you want to go over to the one on the right? Yeah, so they're in the bottom line of predators. That's why the mother is looking carefully to see if there's no hyenas or lions in the area, so they can lie on the shade peacefully and digest their food that they have eaten. I would say they may have caught an impala because this is nice and open for impalas to come out in the open at night. If they're lucky, they caught one early this morning. Being in the bottom line of food chain, these animals will try and eat as quickly as possible before anything sees them. And they eat until they're full, and they'll leave the rest because they know the smell might attract other predators in the area. So that's why cheetah will have to hunt almost every second or third day, because unlike the lions, which if they kill a buffalo or giraffe, they have food for 3-4 days, depending on how many animals are there. Leopards, if they manage to take the food up a tree, they've got food for another 2-3 days, but these animals will eat until they're full and they move away from the carcass. As you can see, they're looking further away to our left. I think there's some wildebeest alarm calling, but you can hardly hear them. Yeah, Fiona, if you look at those three on the shade, you can see they're sitting up. I can't see exactly the one that's lying down, but to my experience, I'd say there's two males there. I can see the head of the other one lying down, but I can't see the whole body. The male's heads will be much bigger or slightly bigger than the head of a female. So the female will have a much smaller head to the male, and this body size will be slightly different. The males will have much bigger body size to the female. Yeah, if they were all standing, but to my experience, I'd say there's 2 young males and 1 young female. These animals are opportunists. Sometimes if something comes here, they'll try, take it, but not really hungry. They might lie here another day or 2 because they've had enough meal to feed them all. Just unlike the leopards, lions, which they need more cover to hunt, this is a very good area for cheetah to hunt because they rely on speed and chase the animal down through this clearing and use that dew claw to trip the animal so it flips, and then they catch the animal on their throat. From a distance you can hear territorial call from the wildebeest bull. this is the area where he hangs around, but now those cheetahs are here, and he's going to try and keep a little bit of a distance from these animals because they're also predators, even though he's much bigger for them, but there are records, very rare, cheetahs taking down wildebeest, but more it will be the babies, not a fully grown wildebeest. It's just in areas where there's not enough antelope species, that's when they'll be forced to go for much bigger prey, but these animals will prefer much smaller prey than a wildebeest. Unless a hyena or a leopard comes to this area, these animals are still going to be here this afternoon. So we're hoping that they're still here this afternoon. Maybe tomorrow morning they'll be hungry again. It will be really nice to see a cheetah sprinting across this clearing because I've seen these animals feeding, but not when it happened. I'm sure you can clearly hear the wildebeest bull making his territorial call from a distance there. Yeah, I've seen these animals feeding, but rarely watch them chasing, maybe once or twice, of which it will be really nice to see them tomorrow after digesting this food and hungry again, getting ready to hunt. Maybe something come out in this open and chase through these clearings because these young ones are on a learning session. They follow the mother and try do exactly what she does, but it's difficult for them. I'm so happy to see them with full bellies like this because it's really difficult for a female cheetah like that to hunt for 3 cubs because now, because they're in that learning session, that's when things go wrong because the mother will try and do it correctly because she's got the experience, but the young ones tend to go in fast and ruin everything. So they can go the whole day and she'll try until the sun has gone down and they'll look for a nice open area and lie down for the night. Try the next day. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, for some of you who have been following us on Safari Live, you may have seen these animals before. So they've been going for a couple of days without food because of that. And then she tried to do it, and then the young ones will just go in and start. Yeah, we're going to sit and view this animal for another 30 minutes or so. Let's go over to Pryland and see what JP's got for us and enjoy. Yeah, I can see them.
Good morning and welcome back to Pridelands. At the moment we're standing next to a beautiful old knob fawn which has been pushed over by elephants. However, the elephants wasn't the sole reason why this tree came to an end. If we notice right over here, we see that there was a large amount of natural rot that was taking place, where the tree possibly was injured before. And it seems that we have both termite activity that's over here, which assisted with feeding on the dead layers of plant material. And then we've also noticed a number of small little holes in the side of the tree, which is most likely the work of longhorn beetles, which also assist with the breaking down of the dead plant material. So this eventually weakened the structure, and as we see right over here, we've got a smear mark of an elephant where they came to use this tree as a rubbing post and then eventually pushed the tree over in the process of doing so. So the termites itself also plays a very important role in recycling nutrients and minerals, as they take this dead plant material and put the nutrients back into the ecosystem. This then becomes available to plants again, and from plants it will flow from the herbivores and eventually to the carnivores. Eventually these animals will die somewhere in the process, but will also produce a large amount of waste product during their lifespan, which is also other methods of how nutrients get recycled. One of the other important recyclers of nutrients and minerals are also funguses, as they too often will feed on dead plant material. And the outer layer of the bark that we see over here is dead. And this is why we have lichens growing on them, which is a combination of a fungus and an algae. The algae having the ability to photosynthesize and produce carbohydrates, and the fungus having the ability to recycle the nutrients by breaking down the dead plant material into a usable form in this relationship. So over time, this tree will also disappear and make more nutrients for the ecosystem. It's just absolutely fascinating how these cycles continue and how the ecosystem can support itself. This is also one of the reasons why it's quite important not to unnecessarily remove branches and trees from their natural environment, as with the wood and dead plant material is also important for the food for termites. And if termites and the termite population in that area will crash, a whole number of other ecologically important processes will also come to an end.
There was a question.
I know. Good morning, Joanna, and welcome to the show. To answer your question, it's just different trees have got different strategies and have evolved in different ways. But it's difficult to say why they would have smooth rather compared to a rough. But also sometimes a rough bark is maybe providing a little bit more protection, especially like a knobthorn when it's accompanied with a large number of thorns on the side of a tree, which makes it harder for animals when to feed on the tree when it's younger. One of the other things that we've noticed over here is that this dead log has also now provided a home for a number of new animals. And one of the tiny little scat segments that we can see over here belongs to a dwarf mongoose, which has most likely started using this as a home.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
I was quite surprised and excited to learn that I had won the Wild Earth prize for March. My wife and I started watching Wild Earth during the lockdown, just to allow us to get out of the day-to-day routine and enjoy some of the bush sightings. Our favourites, of course, are watching the birds when they show them sometimes, and especially the leopards. That's always nice to see on the show. She will definitely be going with me, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy all aspects of the prize, as we don't get out into the bush often enough. Thank you very much, Wild Earth.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions.
If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
We have a baby pangolin. A baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Yeah, if you look there, you can see the one that's standing is the mother. Now she's moving away. She's feeling a little bit uncomfortable to be in this area. She might lead these young ones out of this area because before we found these animals where they are, there was tracks of a lion but headed away from where they are. I'm sure she's picking up the scent from that lion, of which predators don't get along together, so she'd rather take them to a much safer place, even though she's full or all of them have eaten. They're just worried the lion might find the scent. Because they've eaten, they might still have a scent of blood with them, so the lion might follow them and find them, so that will be dangerous for them. Wow, look at them playing around, so happy they've got their meal. Yeah, that can be really dangerous for them if a lion can get here or pick up the scent and start trailing them the whole morning. So that's why the mother is leading them away to get out of this area. This lion tracks in the area, so she looks like he's gonna move out. As I said earlier, she's sitting up even though the young ones were lying down, very relaxed, but she's the one who's more concerned because the young ones are not as experienced as she is. So she's definitely gonna take them out of this area. We shall know where she's gonna take them, but we're still here. We might end up with them and see them lie down for the day. Well, once you get to the area where she's going to think it's more comfortable for them. Like they've moved slightly, maybe 70 meters from where they were, as you can see. She's not thinking of lying on the shade now. Following her. Yeah, they do, Carol. But it's a bit difficult, though. Even for leopards, it's not that easy to ID them. You just need to take a good look, more especially with this female, because she just moved in the reserve not long ago, so we don't really know the spots that we can identify these animals exactly. Unless an animal has got an injury or wounded, that will be an easy giveaway. But these cats are a bit difficult to identify. You need to really take a good look at them. As you can see, she's looking behind every now and then. See, there's something spooked them there. Yeah, looking behind every now and then, that's where those lion tracks are. And then the wind is blowing from the direction where we saw the lion tracks, so they might be picking up the scent. That's why she's taking them away. Like I said earlier, these animals are going to be out of this area. And then, you never know, we might see some vultures in the area and go to the area where they fed, and we'll find out what they killed. Because once vultures catch them all, they might fly around and then be able to see what they've eaten last night. In the distance behind us, in the direction where she kept looking, there's some Natal spare fowls. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that alarm calling there. Sometimes the spares will give warnings like that if they see another predator, and then these animals will know there's something in the area. It's interesting. I hear that as an alarm call, but to these animals, the same call will have lots of different meanings. Yeah, we'll follow these animals and see whether they lie down or not. While we're on the follow, we'll go over to Tristan and see what Tristan is up to. Let's follow this animal.
Good luck, Dyke. Hope you keep up with them. We are having a frustrating morning, not from a point of view that there isn't things around, just everything's going in the wrong areas. So we've already tracked what I assume is Shadulu over our vehicle tracks from yesterday and then into Arethusa, Darkmane Evoker into Arethusa, and we've now been on tracks for what I assume again is Tingana. Can't be 100% certain, but for a long way now. And so what I'm doing at the moment is just trying to get ahead of the direction that he's traveling, because it just seems like we're so far behind at the moment that we're just trying to cut down the distance. The problem is where he's heading is we're not going to have much signal soon. We're kind of heading up towards the center of Buffelshoek. So, signal there gets a little bit dodgy at times. But I'm hoping we can cut him off before that happens. All right, in the meantime, though, let's send you across to Pinda, see how they're getting on.
Quick. Welcome back, everyone, to and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. From a lion and her cubs to a cheetah and her cubs. So we've now just joined up with this cheetah and her cub, and I've just spotted a water monitor off to our right here. It looked like it caught her attention, but she's now not too bothered by it. Looks like she's on the move. There was also, just a little bit further down, a couple of impalas came down for a drink. They're slowly now moving across. Oh, you can hear all the Vervet monkeys alarm calling. I'm just going to go forward and see if we can stick with them. Around. Now with the Vervet monkeys alarm calling, all the impala and plains game will definitely be aware that something's in the area. But a lovely morning here in Pinda. like I mentioned a bit earlier, a little bit cool this morning. The sun actually just started coming out, managing to break through the clouds. Blacksmith lapwing. Not too impressed with the cheetah getting that close. I'm hoping she's going to go down for a drink. There's a little bit of a gap there, or sort of a gully. She might go in there and have a quick drink. She might also just cross right over. Looks like she's spotted something. Ken's asking, do cheetah ever attack other cheetah? They do. Yes, they do. Especially males. Large males will attack other males. And even younger cubs. So if the male finds younger cubs, he might actually attack them. I've just seen now, if you about 50 meters in front of the cheetah, there's those impala. And as you can see, the cheetah are out in the open. They've been spotted by the vervet monkeys. So chances are they're not going to be too concerned by those impala. Impala keeping an eye on the cheetah also. This is a mom and daughter. The daughter being just over a year old. Woolly neck stork just landed on top of the tree there. Funny enough, just before you joined us, Owen and I were saying it's quite rare not to see any woolly neck storks here. You often find quite a few here. And one's just joined us. I think those impala came down for a drink and were interrupted by the cheetah coming down to sunbathe a little bit. I think the same as what we're doing now, trying to soak up the sun. It's very much what these cheetah are doing. Quite a cold night. They'd both be trying to warm up. Billy's asking, do cheetah ever hunt vervet monkeys? It's a great question, Billy. No, they don't. As far as I'm aware, they wouldn't hunt vervet monkeys. Often vervet monkeys will be quite high up in the trees and would be able to go right to the top of a tree where a cheetah wouldn't be able to, even a leopard wouldn't be able to, get right to the top. And even then they could just jump from a tree to another tree. So they're able to get away, so it wouldn't be worth the cheetahs while trying to catch a vervet monkey. So if anything, it's just more of an irritant for them, giving away their position, giving away their cover. It's quite interesting to see how predator and prey are so close to each other. HP's asking, how do you tell the difference between monkeys' alarm calls? I assume you mean the different calls vervet monkeys specifically make. So generally, if it's something like a snake, it would only be 1 or 2 calls and it would be quiet. If it's a land predator, it would generally be from a tree. And it'll be pretty constant. As you can hear, they're carrying on. They haven't given 1 or 2. They're still calling from a tree. And then if it's an aerial predator, like an eagle, they tend to be a little bit lower down the trees, even on the ground. And again, wouldn't be as constant as a land predator. As I was saying, it's quite interesting to see how close predator and prey are. Literally 60 or so meters between the impala and the cheetah. Impala still haven't come down for a drink yet. They're just keeping an eye on these cheetah. I'd of course rather keep an eye on the cheetah and know where they are than lose sight of them and not know where they're going. The vervet monkeys have also gone quiet. I can't help but imagine wondering if this cheetah was to go for these impala, what would be its first move? Possibly that get off to their left. Might sort of dart in there and go right round. The wind is blowing from the impala onto the cheetah, so the wind is in their favor. They'd be able to stalk from bush to bush until they get close enough. It is also an open area, so they would be able to use their speed. Even though they have been spotted, the cheetah's still keeping a watchful eye on those impala. I think we're going to sit here for a bit longer and see what these cheetah's next move is going to be.
Good morning and welcome back to Pridelands. We've continued our walk It's been a fairly quiet morning so far in terms of the tracks of large animals. However, we have found the tracks of a number of small little animals. And right over here, we've located on the track of a mice. And what we'll notice over here is little feet that we can see over here. Sometimes they'll also will leave their tail marking on the ground. Here we can see how it bounded and landed together, where all 4 feet over here forms a tight grouping where they have just landed. With the mice species that we find in Southern Africa, they are as small as a few grams, in the case of the African pygmy mouse, up to almost 8 kilograms in weight when it comes to the greater cane rat. Now, quite often when we do look at mice and rats, we consider them as vermin and pest. However, in a natural environment such as pridelands, they play an important role to sustain this whole ecosystem. Firstly, they're responsible for feeding on seeds and plants and assist with the seed dispersal as well. We also then find that they also play an important role as food provisioning for a number of different animals. And without these mice and rats, this whole ecological niche could potentially collapse. The animals that will feed on these mice and rats are anything from snakes, birds of prey, which is active in daytime, owls, which we often have in the nighttime, and then also species like other reptiles like will feed on them, like the snakes, and also jackal, caracal, and a number of other species such as African wildcat. Strangely enough, one of the things that also often feed on mice is African bullfrog or giant bullfrog, which is known to have taken mice on several occasions. In recent years, mice has also been used as a study tool to display how healthy an ecosystem is due to the presence or the absence within a specific environment. From here, we're going to continue. We're going to start making our way to Leopard Dam and go and see if there's anything that came in to come and drink.
Yeah, I think we're gonna leave these 4 cheetahs and then carry on with the search for the lion and see if we can find those lions. While it's still a bit cooler, we might be able to find them playing around because it's still cool enough for them. So we're just gonna carry on to where we last saw the tracks. How lucky we were to find these cheetahs while we were on the search trying to find the lions, and all of a sudden cheetahs are there for us. And then let's carry on, look for these lions that we were planning to find this morning, and hope to see these lions feeding somewhere in the area where we were looking. So we're heading straight back to where we last saw the tracks, heading down. And then we're going to be driving through this beautiful vegetation where the lions sometimes will like to spend the day because of nice shady spots if they didn't come across anything or got successful the night before. But I'm going to be carrying on down this road, so see if we can find this. This is exactly where we left the tracks, so we're going to continue from here and check the riverbed, see if they've gone back to where the cubs are. I have a giraffe in the distance there. Good question, Peter. We don't have as many cheetahs. That's why I was so happy to see these 4 cheetahs all together. I would say the chances will be more of seeing a leopard here than seeing a cheetah. So for us to see a cheetah, that's very, very lucky. We don't have that many cheetahs. Like if you would have asked me, do you have cheetahs at Ingala before we saw those 4? My question to that, I was going to say, we do, but we don't see that many. So the chances are more of seeing a leopard than a cheetah. Or if someone comes and asks to see a cheetah, I would say, you never say no, because they do come in and out from Kruger Park. Every now and then we see 1 or 2. And then this morning got really lucky to see those 4. So that's why I'm hoping nothing comes to where they are, like hyenas, lions, to push them out so we can get to see them for the next few days. And you see, we're looking at the giraffe. It's gonna move behind the bush there, slowly walking towards the bushes. Not sure if you'll be able to see because he's disappearing behind that bush. That's very interesting to see. You can just see the tip of the head while he's moving through those bushes there. That shows how tall these animals are. Unfortunately, that giraffe has disappeared, so we're just going to carry on and try to look for those lions. In the direction where those cheetahs are, but that's too big for the cheetahs, and I don't think they're gonna hunt now because they have eaten. Let's hope the lions are lying somewhere.
If you love to watch Wild Earth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day. The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the whale snails that we collect on a monthly basis, and this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa. Kuanzia mwaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page, and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
We're on our way to Bafosuk Dam, or we're almost on Bafosuk Dam. I'm just having a good, very slow drive on this road. We're on Gwari Pan Road. Just because the grass is really nice and high here, and that usually means that we'll be able to find cool little creatures. Haven't found any just yet, but always valuable to have a look. I did pass the tree that I wanted to yesterday, the one that was on Cheetah Cutler that had been recently ring-barked and still looks very healthy. We spoke about ring-barking yesterday and how it can cause the sugars not to be transported down to the roots of a tree once it's been ring-barked, and it seems that it's still doing quite well. So I'd love to know why, because I would imagine that it should, at least theoretically, die quite quickly. Well, it's only been like 3 weeks or 2 weeks. But I'm going to keep an eye on it and maybe just write a little note every now and then. This one also looks like it's been recently ring-barked. Very, very recently, actually. Because the one that we saw getting ring-barked together, that marula is dried up. So you see that the cambium, which is this ready layer, the cambium grows both inward and outward. It's the layer of active cells. It produces the xylem tissue within and phloem tissue without. And you can see that it's still quite wet, so it's very recently ring-barked. Now, the one that we saw, when I say very recently, I mean within the last day or two, possibly 3. Because after about a week, it gets very dry and the color starts to change a little bit, and that's because those cells start to die. Or at least some of them. It looks very pretty, although it looks a bit, I feel like I want to go cover it up. It looks a bit naked, the marula. Haven't seen any elephant tracks, and it doesn't look like it's been done today, this ring barking, but I'm still going to be hopeful that we could find some elephants at the dam. So we're not too far from the dam. But it was nice. It's always nice to have a look at not the destruction, but the movement of the bush. Hi, Denny. You'd like to know how do we stop the elephants from ring barking? It's okay that they ring bark, so there's not a need to desperately stop it, because dead trees do provide, as you would have heard with the other guides as well, provide an area for small mammals and other animals to hide and find shelter, so it's not a terrible thing. But if it seems to be happening a lot in one area, especially if there's a high density of elephants, then what the reserve will sometimes do is put a wire around the tree. So if they put a wire around the area that's already been ring-barked, then it gives it a chance to recover. Although if a tree's been completely ring-barked all the way around, it's not going to help. So if there's even a small piece that's still intact, then they'll put a wire around it. I've also seen tin cans that are nailed to a tree that's been ring-barked, or looks like it's going to get completely ring-barked, in an attempt to save it. Apparently it's filled with oil or something like that, which the smell of deters the elephants. There's a few examples of that here. I'll show it to you if I see one. It's very strange because you don't often see bright colors in the bush. If you do, it's something special and you can kind of recognize it immediately. Whether it's the head of a black-collared barbet that's really red, or a jewel beetle that stands out. Those are shapes that you can recognize with those colors. And when you see the bright color of, a Coke can on marula, kind of, what is that? It's too big for a beetle. Do you see a tin can? Great, there we go. I'm not going to spend too much time looking at it because it doesn't look very nice. But apparently it helps deter elephants. So you see that? It looks kind of like people have been shooting arrows and catching cans on the trees, but no, it's to deter elephants. Anyway, let me send you over to JP and Pridelands. We're almost at Buffelshoek Dam.
Good morning and welcome back to Pridelands. This morning we started our walk at a small little pan where we noted a fresh track of a leopard that drank there last night. We ended up following the tracks for several hundred meters. Eventually we lost the track where a vehicle has driven on the road. As we continued, we actually located on the scat, which was left by our leopard. This is another way of making a territorial marking, and quite often this is done on the roads which they patrol. As mentioned in some of the earlier shows, both leopard, lion and a number of other animals actually prefer to use roads because it's easier to patrol these and to leave little scent deposits on these roads when they are marking their territories. We can also see by looking closer that there's a lot of dark coloration to this dung. It's still fresh and shiny with a lot of moisture in it. And it most likely suggests that this animal had a lot of meat in its diet last night. Unlike hyenas, which tend to have more calcium in their diet and shows more of a white, greenish sheen to their dung. There's also a number of flies that is coming in now, and we also note that there's some ants that's also coming onto the feces. They're most likely just all after the moisture at the moment. So for those of you that do have cats at home, the behavior between leopard and lion and a typical house cat is quite often very similar. And one of those behaviors, which you'll see your little kitty often doing at home, is clawing on your sofa, as well as rubbing his face on a number of objects, including you. And why they do that is they deposit scent from the cheek glands onto an object. We also find that the clawing often will be used for making a visual marking, as in the case of leopard and lion when they claw on a tree, but also to clean the sheaths and to sharpen the nails, which is very effective weapons when it comes to grappling its prey. We also find in between the feet, there's tiny little glands, which is known as the interdigital glands. And those glands also deposit a scent as the leopard is moving around. Lastly, we also see that with leopard, both male and female will spray urine, just like your Tom at home does, and sometimes, unfortunately, against your sofa. In this case, the urine also will act as a territorial marking, telling a lot about the individual. Normally, when it does come to territories for leopards, they occupy territories as small as as small as 5 square kilometers, and this territory is often overlapping with several female territories where one male will have 2 to 3 females in that territory that he has. We find that when we do go to the eastern half of South Africa, as well as into the Western Cape, the territories become larger, with territorial sizes up to 450 square kilometers within the Western Cape. And in Tswalu, there's a leopard that we were known to have 1,000 square kilometer range. We're going to see if we can go and find our leopard, but in the meanwhile, we're going to send you to Panda.
Welcome back, everyone, to and beyond Panda Private Game Reserve. And these cheetah have just slunk off. One moment we had them, the next they moved off, and can't find them again. Owen and I have been searching frantically for them. We still hear the vervet monkeys calling every now and then. Also haven't been able to find those impala. I think they're still in the drainage line there, but I'm not sure. It was incredible. We just had them here. They had moved through the grass. We lost them. They popped out near the top of that hill. We were watching them all of a sudden drop down again. I can't find them again. So I'm going to carry on scanning a little bit longer. Like I said, I can still hear the vervet monkeys. We could see them earlier. And they've also seemed to have moved off. I do also hear some rattling testiculars in the distance that are going a bit crazy, so this cheetah might be a bit close to them. Still hear the vervet monkeys. Egyptian geese have just arrived. Rebecca, you're asking a really good question. You're asking, what can we do to help cheetah in terms of conservation? So there are a number of conservation projects that you can help out with. I know the one is with the EWT, the Endangered Wildlife Trust. I know they do a lot of work with cheetahs, so that's one of them. But yeah, there's a number of projects that you could find easy enough online, and that would probably be the easiest way, getting involved with the projects like that if you can. So I'm just scanning frantically. I'm hoping that cheetah pops out on the side of the hill, and I'll have to see. I think we're going to go round to the top of this hill, see if we can look down and find them again. I'm hoping they pop out somewhere there. But in the meantime, you're going to go over to Trish, who's also at a watering hole.
I am at a watering hole. I'm just enjoying the birds, which have all vanished, of course, just in time for you guys to come. But there's been a pied kingfisher and a lovely Burchell starling that's been around. So we're going to be patient and hope that they come back. But other than that, I've heard some elephants around this area too. Now, I've been down into the Mulwati because we heard some elephants there at Twin Dams, but we weren't lucky. So now hopefully we will be. Maybe they'll come to drink. Wouldn't that be great? Unfortunately, I did see the elephant, or the behind of an elephant, moving away from the dam. But we thought, let's stop and give you a nice view of Buffelshoek Dam before we follow them. Super peaceful, although there are some francolin that are alarming just off into this drainage. So let's just have a, I'm just going to park like this. We'll still be able to see the dam, but I just want to have a look into that drainage. Oh, Burchell starling, now you want to come out. Okay, quick look at the starling, just because I love them so much. Okay. It's just just run away behind us. There we go. Is that good, Morgan? Look at this little dinosaur. I think that they're the most beautiful starlings to me, or at least of the starlings we get here. Now it's behind our car. At least I got to show it to you. I always feel bad if I tell you that I saw this or that and I don't get to show it to you. So I'm glad that we did. So I'm hearing some Franklin alarm call through here. I mean, it's not always reliable, but it is always worth a check. Thing is, also, if I were a leopard, this would be a great drainage. It's nice and deep. It's close to water if you need it. And there's some nice heavy tambutis here, creating a thicket. And now the Franklin have stopped. Let's pull out my binoculars quickly and have a quick look. I mean, I can see the Franklin, but it's decided to now groom itself instead of tell me what you're alarming at. All right, let me send you over to Dyke while I follow up on these elephants that are not too far away.
Yeah, we're just gonna carry on down this road and see if we can find those lions. We're still on the search for these lions, but we haven't had any luck yet. Along the road, in the tree, we just find a brown snake eagle that's sitting silently scanning around for its prey, and we're sitting on the road, of which it will be much, much easier for this bird of prey to pick up rodents, maybe snakes, crawling across the road, of which the main dart are snakes. And then they'll take other rodents as well as other birds. As you can see, he's turned his head away from us, trying to scan on the ground, see if he can pick up something. As you know, this is just in the morning, about just after 8, so he's definitely looking for something to eat. These birds of prey, they're capable to catch the snakes, big snakes like pufferdas, black mamba. You never know, he may have seen something here. He's just waiting for whatever it is to move out into the open, so you can quickly swoop down and catch it and take it up a tree, which will be very interesting to see what this guy is up to. As you can see, sitting, since we got here, he's not even trying to move. He's focusing on something on the ground, but looks like now thinking maybe I was hoping when I saw him moved, I was thinking he's going to go onto the ground and catch something, but unfortunately not. He just decided to leave us. Okay, we're just going to carry on the lion search and wish us luck. Yeah, let's carry on and look. I'll try to find these lions, and then we're going to go over to Pinda and see if they found those cheetahs.
Welcome back, everyone, to and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. Just before we moved, these cheetah popped up and so did the impala. Right in the water's edge. And the cheetah are looking in the direction of the impala. Bird monkeys are still alarm calling. But you can see the impala are pretty relaxed. They don't seem too concerned. Fine, Marana, you're asking at what age will a young cheetah start hunting for himself? It's a really good question. They generally from about 18 months they'll be on their own. If it's a female, males often form a coalition. So generally about 18 months, and just before that they'll try and help mom out. But yeah, about 18 months they'll be pretty independent and catching their own prey. Just keeping an eye on these two right at the top here. The grass is quite long, so I seem to have lost the one now again. I'm just going to keep my binoculars locked on that area. The wind is blowing from our left to our right, so from our left hand side towards the water here. So it is still in their favour. And it looks like actually those impala are sort of heading towards where the cheetah are. Billy's asking, when I say cheetahs are better hunters than hyenas, it's a difficult one to answer, Billy. So hyenas generally catch about, I think it's what, 60% of their own kill. And a lot of people tend to believe that hyenas only scavenge. They are very successful hunters. That being said, I think cheetahs and most cats' success rate is only about 40% around there. So they won't, if that. So it's quite difficult to say, and it also depends from area to area. But in the sense that I suppose cheetah catch all of their kill, generally they won't really scavenge. So in that sense, they would have to hunt a lot more often, and hyena would be able to scavenge. But again, both very capable. So for now, I can't find where they've gone again. I hear the Vervet monkey's alarm calling. All right. It just goes to show you how all camouflaged the cheetah are. Can you hear the Egyptian geese?
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Cheetah. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Cheetah's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
I was quite surprised and excited to learn that I had won the Wild Earth prize for March. My wife and I started watching Wild Earth during the lockdown, just to allow us to get out of the day-to-day routine and enjoy some of the bush sightings. Our favorites, of course, are watching the birds when they show them sometimes, and especially the leopards. That's always nice to see on the show. She will definitely be going with me, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy all aspects of the prize, as we don't get out into the bush often enough. Thank you very much, Wild Earth.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Good morning and welcome back to Pridelands. We continued down a little footpath to see what we could find. So far, no more signs of our leopard. However, we did find the tracks of a scrub hare. So most of you might be familiar with this animal running off in the front of your headlights on a safari. What we normally do is we always take our lights off him and then give them some space so they can move off. One of the things I find quite interesting about hares is that they want you to catch up with them. And the reason is that they can change direction without losing speed, where most other predators have to actually slow down before that they can actually change direction. And this is one of their strategies to escape from predators. They can run particularly fast as well. They can do speeds of up to 70 kilometers an hour. But I would like to show you how their little tracks look like. It's probably one of the most indistinct tracks, and it's also a track that costed me quite a few tracking assessments in terms of reaching full scores. So here we can see the hind feet in the hock, which is marking on the outside, and then the little front feet right over here. And then over here, it made a small little bound, and here we can see the hind feet again, where they're marking, and the two front feet right in between. He most likely stopped over here and had something to eat. So quite often, this can be confused for anything from mongooses to even young jackals, depending on what type of soil or mud the track has been left. But one of the more typical ways that we can identify them is when they're running at speed. It's where they leave this typical pattern that looks like a 7. Some of the other field signs which hares often leave is those little pale fecal pellets, which we've showed you over the last few days, and those are often re-eaten by the hare to obtain the necessary nutrients and minerals which wasn't absorbed in the first ingestion. The other is a faint patch of urine, which we often find on the ground, which is also quite a unique little field sign to find. So now our hare has most likely gone off and has gone and rested somewhere in a thick vegetation. We will defecate and re-eat his feces that he's from the food that he ingested last night. And meanwhile, we're also going to continue on our little path and see what we can go and find. Good morning, Mandy, and welcome to the show. There's a number of animals that can be incredibly hard to track. Leopard is probably one of the most difficult to track. They can cover quite a lot of distance, and they're also masters of concealment. And they're very quick to detect you when you are following them. And in most cases, when I have come close to leopard, they tend to run away from you, as they don't want to have any form of conflict with you. It's very seldom that we do actually come to leopard on such a close space where they actually don't detect us until the very last moment. And in those cases, I've walked up to a little rocky outcrop following a leopard's track, and there got distracted by a beautiful star chestnut, and the next moment found myself staring straight at the leopard. In a case like that, you always avoid eye contact, and unlike lion, you don't walk straight backwards, you actually walk out sideways, and never maintain any form of eye contact with it, as it's seen as a challenge when you are maintaining the eye contact. We're going to continue. Let's go and see what we can go and find. And we're going to send you over to Pinder while we continue on our walk.
Welcome back, everyone, to and beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. We're still with these two cheetah, a mom and her cub. So I think where they were is a bit of an open patch, because every now and then we lose sight of them and then they pop up in the same spot. She was looking in the direction of the impala. And the impala are slowly moving across, closer towards us. The monkeys have also gone quiet. And actually might have been what the cheetah are waiting for. Everything just to calm down a little bit. So we'll see what happens. I'm just keeping my binoculars locked on the last spot they were. And as you can see, between where the impalas are and the last place where the cheetah were, it's quite a thick area. There's actually 2 thick bushes there, which will really work in the favor of that cheetah. And just see how the impala are feeding, not concerned at all.
We've just managed to find this really big herd of buffalo moving into Djuma. It's beautiful. So we're here on the Buffalo Cut Line in the north, and they're slowly moving through. It's just wonderful. Here's a little one in front. I'm just going to be quiet because I want you to hear. You can actually hear them as they move through. So gorgeous. Now when we came down here, we just saw one buffalo, and we thought, let's see what happens. And then before we know it, there's like 100 of them. Now there were some lion tracks close by too, so this is interesting. There's quite a few youngsters in there. You can notice them. Apart from their small size, they're much browner. Listening to their grunts. Hi, Elsa. That is an excellent question. You'd like to know if buffalo also ring bark trees like elephants? No, they don't. So buffalo are grazers. They like to eat grass. Elephants are mixed feeders. That's why they eat the bark, they eat leaves, they eat grass, they eat fruit. Buffalo, they just eat the grass. And also, an elephant has a trunk, and that helps them to ring bark trees because they can move and stand up straight while they move the trunk around, almost like your hand. So you can still walk with your legs, but use your hand to pull things and eat. And for buffalo to ring bark the tree, it would be very, very difficult. Apart from that, they won't be able to digest parts of the bark like an elephant though can, even though it's not very efficient. So elephants not very good at digesting bark, but they still do it because they like the taste. But buffalo, they can't ring bark trees. I'm just really enjoying watching them because so often when we have a sighting with them, they're in one spot and they're quite quiet. So now, because they're moving through, they're actually making their way towards the dam. They're quite noisy and there's a lot of movement, and that's a very enjoyable sighting. Something we don't, it's not often that when we have a sighting of them, we get to see this much movement. All that sound. Hi Annette, you say so many little ones. It's so wonderful to see. It really is great to see so many little ones. And even when they're young, they learn to give you the stare. A good old buffalo stare. Which is just... it's so cute. There seems to be a little pan down there. One that still kept water since the rains. Again, testament to the water table that's so high at the moment. But limited water is causing a bit of trouble. As you heard, they were a little bit disgruntled. Don't worry, guys. The dam is not far. They seem to know that very well. Hi, Nikonova. You'd like to know what is that short, hairy tail under their tummies? Let's see if we can find one for you. What it is a penis sheath. So only males are going to have that. And the hairs are obviously to protect the penis. But you'll find that it's only the males that will have that. A small hairy tail under the tummy. Never heard it described as that. It's always interesting to see what people's perspective of things like that is something that's unfamiliar. And you hear descriptions that you haven't heard before. There's a nice big bull that has it as well. Let's see. Now he's gone out of view. So many, so many. Come on. See, he's got the grey back. Big boss. There he is. A boss is that the part of the horns at the top of the head that's fused into what looks like a helmet. Now, if you compare that male who's now gone walking to the female that would just picked up its head alongside it, you'll see the difference in the boss. In fact, there's a female next to him now. You see that she doesn't have a boss. There, off to the right. Now, move along so we can see your penis sheath. Don't be embarrassed. There you see a young male behind him as well with it, but he's got a good hairy one. There you go. There we go. There we have a good view. So see, there's a female to the bottom left of the screen. And you can see that she doesn't have the heavy boss on the head where the horns fuse. Of course, she's put her head down just in time. So the females almost look like they've parted their hair in a very old-fashioned way. That's apart from the size difference. I hear more coming. Can't see them just yet. Oh, there we go. Quite close. Hello, you. We are your friends, we mean no harm. You're welcome to pass us and go to your herd. No, I think this one would be a bit nervous to pass us, especially since it's not with its herd. So we're gonna have to just move back a little bit to give it some space. I think we'll go to Buffelshoek Dam again because that's where they're going, that's where they're headed. Let's give him some space to come through. I am, like I said, going to turn around, go back to Buffelshoek Dam.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet, and all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
I love being a cam-op for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want the wildebeest to cross. Is it trying? The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to leave.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Yeah, unfortunately, those lions are still in the block somewhere. The tracks are not coming onto any of these roads. So we've just searched everywhere in the area and we've had no luck. So what we've decided, we're gonna leave that area and come back this afternoon and see if we can find fresh tracks. Obviously, once we find tracks, then we'll know. These tracks are on top of our vehicle tracks, so that will be after our morning drive. What we're gonna do now, so we're just gonna try look for for elephants and see if we can find some elephants along this road, which will be really nice to see elephants also, because we haven't seen elephants yesterday and this morning. No elephants been seen, so let's look for elephants. Unfortunately, we can't find these lions this morning, but this happens sometimes. You may be looking and then you don't have luck. So this morning is not our luck to find these lions, but let's hope, because there are other rangers driving in the reserve. Maybe one of them find these lions, or different pride, because these lions we were looking for, it's not the only pride in the reserve. There are chances that other lions can be found. If they happen to find other lions in the area, we might go over and see those lions, but let's look for elephant for now and hope to find these elephants and view them. As you can see, it's coming to an open now. There's little water holes on the side of the road. This is where elephants can come to drink, maybe take a mud bath as the day goes on. Yeah, so we'll try the lions this afternoon again. As you know, it's getting warmer now, so the lions might find a shady spot and lie down for the day, so they're not going to move much. Yeah, let's try find some elephants so long. While we're trying to find the elephants, we're going to go over to Pinda and see what's happening there. You can see down the
Welcome back, everyone, to and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. And as you can see, we are still in the same area as these two cheetah and the impala. Myself and Owen are waiting for the cheetah to pop up. You haven't been able to find them. But again, this grass is quite long, so it's quite easy to lose them, and they could also quite easily pop up pretty much anywhere. So we've just been sitting here, waiting, keeping an eye on the impala. Every now and then you do see the impala staring off into a direction. There's been quite a strong wind coming across the hill here, so you can imagine how the smells are getting mixed in there. And the cheetah did come from the direction where that impala is staring. There might be a bit of scent lingering in there. But other than that, they don't seem too concerned. Also going into the rutting season, the breeding season for these impala, so you'll see it's just the one impala. Just the one impala male, sorry. So that is the last area we saw the cheetah. So they have dropped down and popped up in the same place before. So they could also just be lying down there. I've got a feeling they are, or at least Mom has moved off to get into a better position and try and ambush these impala.
Hopefully they will hunt at some point. We've got some ellies. It's been a difficult morning, to say the least. We've followed tracks absolutely miles today and unfortunately got to a point where we had to leave them. Our signal just wouldn't allow us to carry on any further, I'm afraid. I'll show you guys now on the map how far we went with those tracks. And the reason why it was a frustration is because when we found the tracks, we also found lots of vultures descending and tracks for 2 male lions and the leopard going into the exact same block where the vultures were all coming down. So I take it that there's a kill there somewhere, and potentially there could be 2 lions as well as a leopard in there. But anyway, it's not to be, and so now we're with some ellies. It's actually crazy how much leopard activity there was on Djuma kind of area last night. We've followed 4 different sets of tracks this morning. 2 females crossed into Arathusa and Simambili, and then 1 male is the one that we tracked all the way towards Buffelshoek, and then there's another male which I'm still trying to figure out, that's unfortunately gone into another area where we can't follow. And so I'm not sure who those 2 males would be, because the pattern doesn't really make sense to me. The first track that we found, I would imagine, was Tingana, but the second one confuses me because it's coming out of Buffelshoek, heading south into Djuma. And that can really only be Mulawati, but Mulawati was seen yesterday at Arathusa, unless, I don't know, maybe I've got it wrong, and that track that we picked up coming out of Simambili is for Mulawati. It's possible. Anyway, small group of ellies, lots of them around at the moment. There's kind of ellies seem to be dotted about all over the show, which is nice. It's always good to have lots of elephants in the area. Why I say small group, it seems like only a mom and her 2 offspring that I can see so far. So mom is on the right, then the smallest one, and then we've got another kind of little, well, not little, but teenager in front that's being a little bit cheeky. Every now and then is kind of throwing a branch and having a little tantrum, which happens. But just to give you an idea of how far these tracks went, this male leopard track that we found, if we have a look on the map, this is Djuma, this block down here on the bottom left-hand side of the map. And over here is where there's like a little drainage line, and so we picked up the male track here. He walked all the way up like this. He then cut across here, cut across here, cut across here, here, then went in like this, all the way along to there, up to Kaiki Pairing, and then he turned like this all the way along, and eventually went towards Mvula Road. And the tracks that we lost, or where we left it because of where the kind of lay of the land is, was going off Mvula Road, and the male lion tracks were coming off this side into the same drainage, and all the vultures were dropping down. So somewhere in that tiny little block, which is very thick and full of drainages, is where that leopard went. But it's a long way to head all of that way. And it took a lot of effort to get that far with tracks, because some places weren't easy. But unfortunately, like I say, just there's no signal down there. It goes into a little drainage like a bowl. And then the other track that we're talking about comes off from Sour Plum, past Rain Tree, and then comes in towards Gauri Cutline, and then into this drainage where, again, this is an impossible drainage. You can't negotiate this first section here. It's only as it comes down to this, from about midway downwards, that a vehicle can actually traverse it. This section here is untraversable by a vehicle, which is crazy. The other good news, though, is that there are wild dogs that are slowly coming. At the moment, they're up here at Nyala Dam, and they're slowly coming southwards. So I think this afternoon we might get lucky and find dogs somewhere around Buffelshoek Dam. Hopefully even maybe come down towards Quarantine. So there's something to look forward to this afternoon. And you never know, maybe things change and we find these females. The other 2 females, I think, is Kara and Shadulu. One went out there and the other one went out at the top, which is both routes that they like to take. So that's our morning so far. Lots of following leopard prints with very little success, and not because I think we would have found that male. His tracks were starting to get super fresh, on top of even birds from the morning. And like I say, with all those vultures descending, it's a common trait for a leopard to go follow vultures that are descending, and that It could be because of the fact that dogs have been around. Maybe there was a carcass for the dogs. And this leopard is now being opportunistic, as are those two lions. All right, talking about lions, I'm going to send you across to Trish. I know she was with some buffalo earlier, and there were some lion tracks in the area. Maybe she'll get some luck.
We've been so lucky. Just the right amount of time it took us to turn around and come down this side was exactly what the buffalo needed to get down to Buffelshoek Dam. There's some lovely sounds as magpie shrikes calling above us. And you can hear the sound of the buffaloes in the water. Isn't that lovely? There's a few that are actually in the water. I'm going to move very slowly forward, just to give us a little bit extra area to view here. There's some down here and there. Oh, it's beautiful. Stretched across like this. They're the water-loving, very much like our elephants. Beautiful scene. They'll be moving around. They have large home ranges, moving around to areas with good vegetation, good grass, and also where there's water. So in this season, where we've had an abundance of water and the vegetation is still good, they may not move as much, or at least with not as much desperation, because they can easily find food and water in most places, even if it's not a large dam like this. Lots of little puddles, as we saw earlier. Gorgeous. Well, let me send you over to Pinda quickly. I'm sure something exciting is happening on that side.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm not going to say much. Let's see what happens here. She's only about 20 meters, if that, from his impala. And the impala also not facing her. She's still going, she's running. I'm going to drive forward. She's still running. She's now... I'm not sure where she's gone off to. Here's the cub. The cub's there. It seemed like a bit of a half attempt there. The cub's now looking for his mom. I'm not sure where she's gone. And how was that? I might give a call now.
So much action, but I'm sure we'll get back to it in a bit. Here we're still enjoying very, very nice scenery and the audio from the birds around us and the buffalo that are enjoying themselves at Buffelshoek Dam. It's so difficult to talk over these natural sounds, so I like to just let them play out, because it really gives you a good perspective of what it's like to be sitting here and you can hear and see. Large older males and these young calves next to each other. These are long-lived animals. I think the record is about 29 years. For an adult, obviously, but it's more likely it's under 20 years old. So in terms of longevity, so when you see there's some really massive bulls in this herd. I wouldn't be able to estimate their age. When they're very old, you'll start to see white patches around the face, but also on the body. And then you compare that to that fresh, gorgeous look of little calves. It gives you an idea of the extent of experience within this herd. Stunning. I'm so glad that we found this herd and that we managed to catch them here at Buffelshoek Dam. But for now, I'm going to send you over to JP at Pridelands.
Good morning and welcome back to Pridelands. Wind has started to pick up and speed, and we decided to start slowly heading back. But on our way back, we found this young giraffe bull that we would like to share with you. I find giraffes absolutely amazing animals, and it's probably one of the most photographed animals within Southern Africa. It's also an animal that allows for great photographic opportunities, as it often will sneak up towards to come and check what we are doing, as they are incredibly curious. And this is called the predator inspection. I was doing a little bit of reading on giraffes yesterday evening, and we found that up to the early 1900s, there was less than 16 giraffe left to the area south of the Olifants River, within the area of the original Kruger National Park, which was in those days known as the Sabi Game Reserve. The numbers, however, has come back, and they are quite easy to find. I just love watching giraffe because they are such graceful animals. For me, it's probably something to do with their elegance, which makes them so beautiful. Now, if we also look at them in terms of their length, that is also what provides that long, elegant appearance, and then also combined with a very unique way of how they walk, by walking with the front and back right, followed by the left, front and back. However, if they run at speed, they can sometimes do speeds of up to 60 kilometers, and then that typical gait will change, where they will kick the hind feet past the front feet, and then kick the front feet out again. Quite often with the neck straight in that position as well, to prevent that they fall over. One of the things that I find quite interesting about giraffe is the height of the animal, that they can reach heights up to 5.8 meters. However, females, they tend to be much smaller and not as tall as the males. And this has also allowed them that they don't directly compete with one another, as that they feed on different heights when it comes to feeding on trees. We also find that the males tend to spend less time on feeding, more times on walking around, but also more time on fighting and looking for cows and estrus. Females always like to try and feed a little bit more. They're looking for high quality meals, and then to make sure that they're in the best possible condition, that they can reproduce. We've also got an incredibly dark giraffe bull that's just come out of a drainage line. It's probably one of the darkest ones I've ever seen. However, one of the darkest ones I've actually now can recall was a female. So we often find that old bulls can be incredibly dark, and in general the males can be incredibly dark as well. However, genes can also play a role. And in this case, I would assume that it's a double recessive gene from both parents, which has allowed this giraffe individual to be so dark in color. I also find it absolutely fascinating that giraffe has got a number of different adaptations which they've evolved. One of these is the atlas and axis vertebra that allows them to tilt their head up at a 90-degree angle. While we're going to enjoy this giraffe bull and see what he gets up to, we're going to send you over to Ngala.
Wow, guys, this is amazing. But first of all, before I tell you what we found, I'd like to know from all our viewers at home if you can see what's moving every now and then in that long grass. If you look carefully, if I may tell you, there's a male lion lying in the long grass there. Just see his mane moving every now and then. Yeah, his mane is just like the head is just moving every now and then. I wish you were here with me, because myself and Craig here, we're sitting downwind from that male. And then we're picking up this very bad smell. It sounds like he's stolen a carcass from another predator. That thicket where he is, I'd say he's stolen food from a leopard, and the leopard got away from him. Obviously, lions are top of food chain, and the minute he got here, even if the leopard was there, I'm sure the leopard is still running wherever he is or wherever she is. So he's feeding off something there, but I don't think it was much left. As you see, every now and then you can there see his head. That smells so bad. It's possibly a carcass from maybe 2-3 days ago. So there is a bit of a wind blowing. As I said, we're sitting downwind, myself and Craig here. He possibly picked up the scent through the wind, because you will see these animals lying down and lift their heads and sniff through the air. Immediately once they pick up a smell, they'll follow that smell until they find whatever it is. That shows how good their senses are. they don't only rely on their eyesight, their senses are very good, as well as their hearing, because sometimes the impalas will be alarm calling, and they know, as I said yesterday, these alarm calls can sound the same to us, but for them it means huge different varieties of predators. They will know this is a warning that something has been caught, and will get up and rush in that direction and take whatever is there. So this is definitely what he did. He picked up the scent through the air, and then he walked a long way. Unfortunately, it was not us who found him. It's another guide that saw these vultures coming in, but there's hardly anything, so the vultures have decided to leave. So the lion got into that bush and get whatever it is, of which we can't even see, but why I'm saying he's eating something is just because we're sitting downwind and we're picking up this very bad smell. So he is definitely feeding off something in that bush. We'll hope he lift whatever it is and move out of that bush where he's eating, so that we can see what he's feeding off. Nikki, these animals will eat green rotten meat, because when they kill a giraffe is such a large animal. If it's only one male lion, because sometimes these male lions will take down a giraffe or buffalo by himself, he'll just keep feeding for maybe 4 or 5 days. No, they don't get sick, so they sort of like have immune to that, so they can eat green rotten meat. As I said, this smells so bad. I wish you were here to pick up the smell with me. Unfortunately, you're not, but it is an old carcass. As you can see, he's eating away. It's good for him because he's just by himself. And then his brother is not with him, otherwise they'll fight. If his brother was here, they'll fight for a piece, and you'll hear them growling at each other. Yeah, we'll leave this male lion here. As you can see, we don't see much of him. And then go over to Pinda with the cheetahs.
Welcome back, everyone, to and Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see, we've managed to join up with these two cheetah again. The mother did try to catch one of the impalas. She darted across in front of us, and she ran off to our right into quite a thick area. We lost her for a little bit. The cub was a bit separated from mom. And there was a moment where we actually thought she had caught one of the impalas. But a couple of minutes later, she came out of the thick area. And we noticed she didn't actually catch one. You will see if she stops, she's still breathing really heavy, so it was a fairly decent sprint. A good 200-300 meters she sprinted off to our right and then into the drainage line. She did come very close. But wasn't successful. So she's actually going up past that road we were on earlier, where we came down. I think, let's go forward. Let's see, she might go for a drink now. Let's see. Let's hold on, it's a bit pumpy. There they are. Going to one of the concrete watering holes. Looks like the cub's going for a drink. Mom might join it. Can still see Mom's panting quite heavily. You just see that neck or throat moving. Oh, beautiful. Pretty much the exact spot those impalas were standing only 10, maybe 15 minutes ago. There you can see Mom trying to catch her breath. Oh. Something caught her attention. Mom did all the sprinting. Here comes the thirsty one though. You can clearly see that fluffy mane down the back of the cub's neck there. Giving away its age a little bit. Cub's still quite young, about a year old now. See how the cub's popping her head up, still very aware. A little muddy patch on the chin there. Yeah, a bit unfortunate that she didn't manage to catch something. But like I mentioned earlier, not all hunts are successful. She actually didn't look like she gave her all. But it definitely won't be her last attempt. It is also nice and cool today. So won't expend as much energy as they would on a really hot day. So they've got enough water and nice and cool. There has been a few impalas in the area, so I think she'll probably wait for the dust to settle a little bit and might look to hunt a bit later. She is a very successful female. She's actually made a couple of kills in the last week or so. Definitely more than capable. But like I said, just watching how she stalked and then ran after the impalas, she didn't seem to fully commit. You can see how the insects are irritating there. With a flick of an ear. Moving the tail around. Notice how the cover's now set up. Oh, look, you can just see that muddy patch on the chin. Cubs find something to chew on. Looks like the cub is starting to investigate a little bit in the area. Just starting to go behind us. Let me just reverse a little bit. The cub's full of energy this morning. Oh, getting a nice rub on that branch there every now and then. Oh. You'll notice there's quite a bit of mud on that branch there, so a few animals have been using it as a rubbing post. Things like warthogs will often go for a mud wallow, and not long after that will then rub up against a tree, and mud acting like a bit of an exfoliator. Oh. It's very cool to see. So the cub's actually clawing at the tree trunk there.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the Live Safari page and submit your questions below the live.
Look at these lovely impala. They're having quite a peaceful day. I think they're just a little bit south of the quarantine area. I think they're enjoying the breeze and the shade. Just my opinion. Oh, there seems to be one with an injured leg there. It's got some skin missing. I think I've actually seen this one before. Can you see that injury there? Can you see that the fur is off? I've seen this one before and it's actually been, it was much redder and probably quite fresh the last time I was here. So it's nice to see that that's healed up, because that would be easy pickings for a predator. So I'm quite glad that it's healed up in that way, and at least it's dried up. Maybe the fur will start to grow back soon too. That would be lovely. Often when you see young impalas with injuries like that, it's almost a given that they're going to go. Tristan's having a fight with me, everyone. Says I'm blocking the road. Oh, we're heading slowly in the direction of camp. So he's off that way. So we're going to spend a little more time with this impala before we head off too. I want you to have a good look at this ram that's amongst them. His condition is not great. Look at him, tongue out. He's busy trying to taste. As he's moving through, he's actually chasing the females just a little bit, but not in the aggressive manner that you're used to, or that we're used to. But he's still holding his territory. Now the rut peaks in May, mid-May, and the official times are kind of mid-May to June. But it's definitely started a little bit of there. Look at him go. He's quite skinny. There's that typical sound. He is losing condition. Now, as he loses condition, that's how the rams cycle through the whole mating process. Because as he loses condition, he won't be able to hold the territory any longer, and another ram comes in. Poor thing can't even run very fast. They'll concentrate so little on maintaining themselves and feeding. They lose condition very, very quickly. These ewes have this kind of look that says, well, better you than me. Oh, better you than me. See that? There you go, everyone. Your punny joke for the day. And hopefully with that smile, because of course you all laughed at my joke, we're going to say goodbye. It's that time of the day where we're going to say thanks everyone for your questions and your comments. We'll see you this afternoon for Sunset Safari. Bye-bye for now.